My mission is simple, to make you money. I'm here to level the playing field for all investors. There's always a bull market somewhere, and I promise to help you find it. Mad Money starts now. Hey, I'm Cramer. Welcome to Mad Money. Welcome to Cramerica. Other people want to make friends? I'm just trying to keep you from losing a lot of money. My job is also not just to entertain, but to educate, teach, put these days, wild days, into context. So call me, 1-800-743-CNBC, or tweet me constructively at Jim Cramer. In times of crisis, and with the Dow plummeting another 1,338 points today, S&P plunging 5.18%, NASDAQ nosediving 4.70%, we're in a real doozy of a crisis. You simply cannot do enough to help make things better. Our government should always err on the side of doing too much in these situations, because you don't beat a pandemic by thinking small, not unless you get very, very lucky. And so far, we've been about as unlucky as it gets. Everything's going wrong at once. So in the interest of being constructive on a very destructive day, although we finished well off the lows, let me tell you what I think needs to happen to stop the tsunami of selling of stocks in your portfolio. Here's what I mean when I say we need to think big. And I mean huge, much bigger than the trillion and change in aid we've been hearing about, although it was terrific to see a bill pass the Senate with massive bipartisan support that will help the cause. First, the government has basically mandated that bars and restaurants close down to stop the spread of the virus. That's $309 billion in lost wages, or it was in 2018, according to the Bureau of Economic Analysis. It's more now. Payrolls in hotels and lodging, $87 billion. Entertainment, $63 billion. Airlines, $59 billion. All of those jobs are in danger. Many are already gone. So what do we need to do? We need to write checks directly to those workers. We can't afford to tear the fabric of society just because of some virus that might be beaten in a couple of months. Nobody's done anything to deserve this. This is the time to throw money at people. Lifelines. And we got to do it fast. If that means we have to send checks to everybody in America rather than doing something more targeted and that takes longer to figure out, I say go for it. Worst case, we end up helping some people who don't need it. That is a high-quality problem. How about small and medium-sized businesses? Treasury Secretary Mnuchin is doing a good job. He's talked about business interruption insurance. He spoke to me today earlier in the morning. He said we should do it. Make the payments. Make them weekly. I don't know. I want them to make them weekly. Otherwise, when this is over, only the big chains will be left. They'll be the only ones standing. You know, there's a reason why the stock of Walmart was up $3.32 today, nearly an all-time high when the market was busy getting clobbered. Think of that. We should be handing over cash, not loans. I mean, who the heck wants to take out a loan to stay open when your business doesn't make that much money, if any at all? I now own a closed restaurant and a closed bar. The last thing I want to do right now is layer on more debt. It would be one thing if we were open, but we're not. The government won't let us. Next big thing, aerospace. Boeing is America's most important manufacturer. It's responsible for our greatest export and employs 2 million people, either directly or indirectly. Cost of saving them $60 billion. We should pay it, but take a big chunk of change in equity in exchange. But Boeing wants more help and needs to apply to another big idea, the new normal. The new normal deal. This is kind of like the New Deal. A $2 trillion government bank funded by a $500 billion in 30-year treasuries auction, which would be lapped up like mad. We need 30 years. And a Social Security fund. That's right. You take it from the Social Security fund. Right now it sits in cash. A lot of countries have sovereign wealth funds. We should do the same thing. Why not? Eventually we'll beat the coronavirus. Everyone knows that. But almost no investor has the resources to save these companies aside from the federal government. Once this pandemic is over, most stocks will bounce back with a vengeance. This could be the single greatest buying opportunity since the bottom during the financial crisis, but only the government has enough capital and wherewithal to tide these companies over until the economy can recover. I don't know if it's the bottom, but the government can determine. Of course, yes, it can still go lower, but you know what I mean. The objectors are they're in my head. Stop it. Get out of there. Of course, we should impose conditions on any business we invest in. No buybacks, no dividends. Mark Cuban, good call there. They have to accept a government board member. Put that person on the audit committee. Pretty much the same concessions they give to any other major shareholder. Hey, don't think of it as state interference. Think of it as normal activist investing. Huge thing. Give the Federal Reserve unlimited authority to buy every corporate bond that it believes it's worth saving. I know that's subjective, and we're supposed to dislike that. I don't care. If the Fed buys your bonds, your company's saved. Oh, and the Fed should keep giving the banks the credit lines they need to stay solvent during the downturn. Inexpensive lifeline. Those stocks are obviously going to sheer hell. You look at them, so do I. More big thing. What are the major pressure points right now? Well, a terrible one. Collapse in oil prices. It's a man-made collapse. Some of it has to do with lower demand, but that's not why crude plummeted to $20 and change today. The real culprit, the Russians and the Saudis. They started a price war. We are the target. It's to wipe out American producers, in part because they're just busy being very petty. I think it's in our national interest to get the price of oil back to above 30, which would save our thriftiest oil companies. You know, the thriftier ones will do okay, not great, while still letting the irresponsible ones go under. $30 oil is still incredibly cheap, so I think the president should just pick up the phone, right? Phone Saudi Arabia and explain that they'll no longer be under our protection unless they allow prices to rise again. Cheap way to save a huge chunk of the industry that a lot of people are employed in. I want energy independence for our nation. Next big thing, let's get all the quarantine space we need. Commandeer as many hotel rooms as possible. Boy, I'll tell you, there's tons of them. They're going begging. Not like anyone's using them. Buy as many motor coaches as possible. Start building containment hospitals and army bases. Advertise that we need hundreds of thousands of people to put them together. That's right. Show the world what we can do, not just the Chinese cranes looking so all-powerful. Thanks. We know there's a tremendous backlog of COVID cases that we'll learn about in the next few weeks. With every new negative data point, this market's going to go lower. Trust me. But if we build these facilities with American-made equipment, we can make sure that everyone who gets sick can get the treatment they need. Love him or hate him, President Trump is a real estate developer. He knows how to build things. We're going to have a gigantic amount of unemployment in this country. So this would be a great time for a big public works program. Next, we're waiting on our scientists to develop treatments for this thing and a vaccine. We should stop at nothing to help them. They need a clinical trial. Make sure they get all the patients they need. Do it fast. These things are expensive. Government take care of it. Write the checks. Government should be funding these trials. Once we find a drug that works, we should manufacture it en masse with Uncle Sam covering the cost. If we even think it's working, we should make it en masse so it's ready the moment that the test really does clear through every single authority. Last one. If I have to hear one more person talk about how hard it is to get tested, I am going to tear out what's left of my hair. We need to do whatever it takes to get these tests out there and get people the results back in 4 hours. I don't know. I saw one at the close. Guy does it in 10 minutes. Back it. Something quick. Solve this. That way you can go back to work. Stay back at work until the next time you need to be tested. Look, commerce is on hiatus. Full stop. If we want there to be an economy to come back to when the hiatus is over, we need to think big. Until we get some of these changes, I bet we'll keep having days like today where hunting for a bull market, like I say, remember always I'm finding bull market, it's like searching for a recession-proof needle in a haystack. Let me make one last argument. If you don't want to do these things to help your fellow citizens, how about this? We should do them to keep China from eclipsing the United States as a global superpower, which they will most certainly be. They'll be bigger and more powerful than we'll be. They've already beaten the virus, as we'll hear from Starbucks later tonight. The rest of the world's looking to China for leadership, not us. It's going to be permanent. It's going to be permanent if we don't get our act together. The bottom line, we have no choice but to win. It's time to dust off your Churchill. Study your FDR. The only way to beat this pandemic is to go on war footing here. There is no danger of doing too much. No one's ever going to criticize Secretary Mnuchin, Chairman Powell, or the president because he didn't spend... no one's going to criticize him because he spent too much money. They will criticize if you spend too little. There is a huge risk of doing too little. So please, everyone, think big. TJ in California, TJ.
Booyah! I got Moderna, mRNA. They tested their COVID vaccine on the first patient. They're at 20%. What do you think?
I happen to like the people from Moderna. I like look, this is one that's now gotten, obviously, it's one of 5, it's like with Zoom and Moderna, it's about all we have. But Moderna's a real company, and we've interviewed them twice. I always wanted to come back on the show. Gilead, please come on the show. I know one wants to give false hope, but Moderna's got great technology. They're doing a good job. I like them. Let's go to Diane in New York, please. Diane.
Jim, hi.
Hi, Diane.
Given the virus that's surrounding us, I'm wondering about a stock called Teladoc.
I like Teladoc. We recommended Teladoc as one of our stay-at-home situations. We had a private company last night that's doing very well. You know what? Medicare put out a release today about how they're going to fund I can't believe I read that. I got the Medicare release. Got it on an email. Made me feel very old. How about Emil in Illinois? Emil.
Hey Jim, how you doing? I think with everything that happened this past month, I need to get a booyah out. Booyah!
Well, it's better than some Old Bay hot sauce in the eye. What's going on?
So my question is about Twitter. With their past earnings report showing promise, the conflict between CEO Jack Dorsey and the activists being settled, Everyone's staying inside because of the virus and the presidential election coming up. Why is Twitter still following the overall market sell-off?
Well, I mean, first of all, we got to be careful because, they're not taking a lot of political advertising there. But at 22, you know what? That's an interesting idea. I mean, that's the problem. I did a conference call today for ActionAlertsPlus.com club members, and everything I hit up, I said, oh, that's interesting, that's interesting, There's a plethora of interesting. But Twitter is interesting, and I think the stock has come down a lot. But you know what? We had Sheryl Sandberg on last night, and Facebook's just been obliterated. That's my favorite. Okay, there's no danger to doing too much. There's only danger in doing too little. Think big. On Mad Money tonight, I'm sitting down with the CEO of Starbucks to talk about its coronavirus response, the move to reopen China stores, and its big buyback. Then as grocery store shelves sit empty, could the maker of Spam and Jiffy make sense here? I've got the exclusive with Hormel. And as more and more people work from home, I'm talking with the CEO of Logitech to see how its products are helping with the new deal normal. Stay with Cramer.
Don't miss a second of Mad Money. Follow @Jim Cramer on Twitter. Have a question? Tweet Cramer. #MadTweets. Send Jim an email to madmoney@cnbc.com or give us a call at 1-800-743-CNBC. Miss something? Head to madmoney.cnbc.com.